house.
Miami in the house.
You're locked in with David Sinopoli. This is the 3 Points Radio Show.
Music, art, culture.
Straight from the source.
Straight from the source. This is the 3 Points Radio Show.
And tonight, we roll deep with Daze.
You're locked in with David Sinopoli. This is the 3 Points Radio Show. And tonight, we roll deep with Daze.
This is David Sinopoli, and you're tuned into 3 Points Radio on 93.5.
The sound, the culture, the movement. This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Tonight on decks, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
Now you got me wanting. So
3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. David Sinopoli. Tonight on Dex, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
Thank you for being locked in with us on 3 Points Radio. This is David Sinopoli. I am one of the co-founders of 3 Points in Miami, and I am joined today by one of my dear friends who I've known for close to 20 years, Danny Daze, Miami legend, cornerstone of our scene, one of the most innovative producers, probably top 5 DJs in the world that I know, in my opinion, and a true Miami human being all the way through, and somebody that represents 3 Points and our city to the max. D, what's up? How are you?
What up, everybody? Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, I've known Sinopoli over here for almost 20 years. It's kind of nuts. We've known each other for a long time, man.
Yeah, man. I think the first time we met, and you probably don't remember it, but I do, it was in 2005. I think you were playing at Rock Bar. Was those years?
Yeah, those were the pawn shop years. Those were the Rock Bar cafeteria. Yeah.
I was hosting tables during the time that I was home for college. I, at the time, was going to University of Florida and was throwing parties up there. And I would come home, and Erica Freshman and Sebastian Puga would give me a table, like a bottle of tequila or vodka, and let me host people at Rock Bar or Red Room.
Right.
And then I would go over to Vice or Set, and I would host over there. And usually those were on like holiday weekends or December when we were back from school. And you were in the rotation at Rock Bar at that time, right?
Yep, I had a residency there, and those days were pretty crazy, man.
Can you describe Rock Bar, the room, so people understand what we're talking about, like how the tables were set up, how the dance floor was set up, where your booth was set up?
It was about a 250-person room, and it was chaos. It was on Thursday nights. This was really during the electro sleaze days.
Right.
So everything from the presets to klaxons to soul wax was being played on a random Thursday. You know, the tables were on the left-hand side, but people would usually stand on top of the tables, on top of the bar, on top of the chairs, and it would be absolute chaos. You know, we'd be throwing napkins everywhere.
Right.
That's what I remember.
And the DJ
booth. Yeah, the DJ booth was, you had to go up a spiral staircase where you could barely see anything, right? You can't see the DJ.
Right.
I remember I'd have Jay-Z or Alex Rodriguez or Madonna kind of come and hang out in the back. There was a tiny little section.
Yeah.
So I was able to make friends with like Leonardo DiCaprio, man. I had his sidekick always hitting me up, yo, where are you going to be at now? Right. So those days were pretty wild, man, 20 years ago. And it's been, we've known each other for a bit, man.
Yeah, man. I remember going in there and like you said, there was tables that were ground level, but they had a cushion. And then the cushion, you could stand on the top of the cushion behind the tables.
Yep.
So you'd walk in and you see a line of people up already like 8 feet in the air dancing on the back of a table. You'd have people dancing on the couch, the cushion, which was like 2 feet in the air. And then you had people dancing on the floor. And then DJ was like 15 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So the party itself felt, like you said, chaotic.
Yeah. Those cushions needed to be changed every 2 weeks.
Yeah. They were getting,
that's what they
stilettos just go right through those.
Yeah.
And it had a pretty proper dance floor and a bar, but you played edits at the time you were making music with Gigamesh.
With Joe Maz and Gigamesh as Discotheque. That's when the Discotheque stuff started, and then all of a sudden, you know, I had 4 to 5 night week residency in Miami in different clubs, and then every weekend I would play. So I was playing almost 7 nights a week for about 7 years.
Wow.
So that was DJ boot camp for me, learning how to, you know, be an open format DJ while also having my own taste and being able to mix everything from electronic music to Blondie to Beastie Boys to Celia Cruz.
And cuts were quicker too back then.
We were playing tracks for 40 seconds.
Right. So you had tons of music.
Yeah.
Serato days.
Serato. Yeah, which I still use that mentality going into electronic music. You know, like there's some tracks that I play only for 40 seconds just as a tool for the crowd.
I played with you for the first time at 3 Joints, and I guess we're jumping all the way 20 years later. But never played with you before, and you're one of the more physical DJs. Like, you are always working.
Hip hop. Yeah, that's the hip hop.
Always working.
Turntablism side, I think, and it comes from the entertainment side and having performance, where people like to see a person moving around back there and doing something, not just fiddling with knobs, but something that does have an effect on the crowd. And it really does. Like, if you can be a performative DJ where you're dancing up there, or you can do something that is more technically driven, that does something to the crowd where people actually feel it and they're like, okay, he's in it with us.
I'm in it. Yeah.
He's in it. We're in this together at the exact same time. We're experiencing this in real time.
Right.
That's what I'm about.
But it's different, because somebody playing with the RMX these days and being like, and like pushing it, and you see them like moving with the RMX, is not the same thing as you. You are working with the fader. You have another loop in there that's going in reverse, that you have now found a new sample in there that you're using as a snare. You're producing music on top of the track that you're mixing in.
That's why the mixer is called a mixer.
Right.
Most people use a mixer as volume knobs for 2 tracks.
Correct.
Now that we have a V10 and you have the ability to have 6 channels going on at once, you should use that. You should be creating these basically remixing live, where people understand, damn, I heard this one song playing and now it's going into something else, and all of a sudden I'm listening to a new song for 3 minutes. That is something completely different.
And that physicality that you have back there, I feel like it's something that sets you apart. I think watching you along the years, Danny, there's always been a showmanship of how you DJ, but it doesn't feel like you're doing stuff as a show, if that makes any sense. Like, you started out as a dancer, correct?
I started off as a break dancer, and then I got into turntablism. So I've always kind of had that like merit-based attitude as to, you have to earn your position on the flyer. And for me, I had to earn the position as a person that's an actual DJ. Now we're using DJ as an adjective rather than a noun, or a verb rather than a noun. One of the two, right? Like, I consider myself a DJ in the sense of a noun. Like, I live this.
Right.
I just bought a collection of 4,000 vinyl,
right,
and this is 26 years later after I started DJing. I'm going through this, ripping the vinyl, making sure I can digitize it, stuff that nobody has, that does set me apart. So now, I've always been more merit-based when it came to the DJ side of things.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for Miami as a whole to understand, as one of their leaders, is what it took for you to get to this spot, and the work that you put in to get to where you are, and the kids that are coming up and the young artists that are coming up, especially the ones that we've had on 3 Points. Sometimes we're giving them their first shots ever to play, right? And their expectations can be such. And with DJing being so accessible these days, to picking up and learning the craft, earning things sometimes doesn't come like it did in the early 2000s. People can get on a flyer pretty quickly if they can bring some heads to the club.
Right.
So I want you to walk me through, how the first years of you DJing were, and like, who was it that you looked as your northern light, like, or your northern star? Like, who in this community, or the community that you were in, did you look at and you're like, wow, if I can be like that guy, or I can be in a spot like that guy, I feel like that's what I'm shooting for? Yeah,
I mean, for me, it started off with this guy Slammin' Felix Sama from Power 96 and DJ Laz. So I was 12 or 13, maybe, no, even younger than that. I was probably 11 or 12, and they came to the school dance. I saw these guys playing with turntables, turned sideways, which is called battle mode. And I immediately told myself, okay, I'm a dancer, and I always choose music when we were having sessions. And I immediately knew this is what I had to do. From there,
I ended up picking the music during the dancing sessions.
Yes, and that's where people were like, okay, he has the capability and the willingness to just dig for music that we don't know. We'll trust him. And so I was basically DJing without turntables, constantly choosing the music. From there, I got into the turntablism world, which I saw DJ Craze out here, which is known as, one of the greatest of all time, doing this, one of the funkiest guys on the planet. And, at 13 years old, I bought my first setup, paid my mom back within 3 months, playing weddings and bat mitzvahs and all that stuff. And I quickly learned that I was very deep into the more electronically driven side of music, and the really deep stuff, the deep cuts that nobody knows, no vocals, just stuff that you really had to dig for. And 26 years later, I'm still here doing this. I'm still the same stuff that keeps my motivation going. And I'm hoping that it continues like this. Obviously, with the advent of the internet and social media, things have become a lot more driven by follower count and all that, which can be a little discouraging at times for new artists coming in, because it tells them, okay, I need to have this many followers in order to get on a flyer and do this. Right. But man, it really is about the music. If that's what's gonna make you have a good foundation for you to move forward in your career.
Right. We'll be right back with more from Danny Daze.
This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Tonight's guest, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
Daze here, 93.5. I want to fast forward from Rock Bar until I think it was 2009, where you came to Gainesville when I was still throwing parties up there. Maybe it was 08 actually. We brought you up to play Neon Liger at Spank and Speakeasy in Gainesville. The second time I was able to really run into you, and you played an incredible electro open format. Then you DJ'd a New Year's Eve party for me at Hotel Victor, I think the year after it, which was pretty much college-based kids that were just out of college that were going to Miami Beach. And you played On the Water on Ocean Drive. Do you remember this?
Nope.
Yeah, you played Hotel Victor with me in New Year's Eve. And then I brought you to one of the worst parties I've ever thrown in my life.
Vibes.
You remember this one?
Nope.
You remember in Jacksonville?
I was that bad?
It was
You mean the one that was in the
banquet room?
Oh, the banquet. Yeah, that was
the Halloween party.
Yeah, I did that with Gigamesh under, I don't know if it was
Singer
Stereo.
You were separate. You were separate names.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst party. It's just
for me, it was the worst party. Not because you didn't have 1,000 people there. So we picked a venue that held 8,000 people.
No, it was gigantic.
It was massive.
It was going to be out here, Pitbull. It was.
You remember you walking around in soundcheck? You were like, "Yo, word, who else is playing this?"
Yeah. Is Pitbull behind this? Yeah.
That was the last party I threw in Gainesville, because at that point I realized that, it was in Jacksonville, but it was during a Florida Georgia event. I realized that the music that I was trying to bring up there was just not for the kids up
right.
there.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more sophisticated at that point.
Yeah. I mean, the music that I'm into is not for everybody. It's actually for nobody. You know, this thing that this style is so niche. This stuff is so niche, and that's the thing that drives me to it, is that it's a big filter for the people that I surround myself with. Pretty much every single one of my friends is musically inclined to have kind of the same taste. You know, of course, I have my old tennis friends and stuff like that literally know nothing about what I do in the music world. But for me, this is a great filter, because to be into something that's so deep kind of tells you that person is a little bit more of an introspective human being.
Yeah,
so it's a great filter.
It is. You know, I remember at 3 Points last year at 444, her set with Maher was incredible.
Yeah, that was
if
awesome.
anybody remembers that, it was on night 2. It was the second stage of 444. So Yusu, I think, opened up the night, and then you went on with Maher, and then Seth closed.
Yeah.
And Beltran was at your set the whole time.
Cool.
It's like we're just watching, listening, and I think for me, I fuck with Beltran, or I like Beltran a lot, but I gained a little more respect for him, that he understood and he was really like into you and Maher, because it is a filter of even to see how you feel about other DJs, if they understand it, if they like it.
Yeah.
Especially as people get more popular, what they gravitate to, what do they want to play?
Right.
I take us to 2010 on our connection in Miami music, and I had moved down here and opened up the booking at Bardot, which was in Midtown at the time, and Chris Arana and Patrick Walsh were helping me with some stuff, and Chris was like, yo, you should try to get Danny into Bardot. I remember I reached out to him, like, yeah, word, I'll come do it. And we had you up in the old booth that wasn't on the floor.
Right.
Where you were perched up by the bar.
Yeah.
And you played a couple of sets with us there, but I think primarily you were playing more at the Pickle at that time. And you were just getting into the Hot Creations era, or the Deep House era. And you were making music that a lot of people were gravitating to in that time. What was that like for you from 2010 to 2013? Because I know a lot of things changed for your career at that time.
Within 3 months, you know, there's a couple pivotal moments, I guess, in everyone's life, and I've had a few of those. This was one of them. In a matter of 3 months, taking what I learned from discotheque, you know, having residencies in Vegas, Atlantic City, New York, in the more mainstream kind of world where you can digest music easier, and producing one song, which was called You're Everything, which immediately took me to another place.
Right.
Within 3 months, I went from like having Las Vegas residencies to playing Room 1 at Fabric.
Wow.
And again, it's about being prepared. You know, for the younger generation out there, sure, you might have this opportunity to go and play the Space Terrace, but if you're pulling up and you're playing at 4 a.m. and you're not prepared, you might not get a call back.
Yeah, that could be detrimental to your career.
Yeah. That first impression is a very big thing. So 100%. You do have to have, you have to back your experience up with preparation, and the knowledge of knowing what you're doing on the dance floor, not just saying I'm a DJ because I have a USB stick.
Right.
Again, the DJing, this is an art form that has slowly been lost, again, due to the advent of the quick dopamine hits that people are getting off of just Instagram likes and TikTok reels.
Right.
But I do see a swing back to people understanding that there's a bit of a difference between these worlds, and you can really feel it on the dance floor when you know the DJ is experienced and knows what he or she are doing, or they are doing. You can really feel it on the dance floor.
There's a mastering to it still. You can be a master at that business.
There's the art of DJing.
The art of DJing takes you to a different level than just playing 2 tracks and going up there and playing music for a party.
Yeah.
Your first 3 Points was 2015?
I honestly have no idea.
I
I don't know which one. It was one of the first ones. The first one was 2013. 2013.
You were.
I think though the first 2 years I was traveling quite a bit. I was in Europe. Yeah, I was in Europe quite a bit. I think the first one was the 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
And then in 2016 we had you back as well, and you played in a stage we called the Black Hole at the time, where Bicep played, Roman Flugel, and I remember you stole the show. I don't think if you remember this, but like in that room, the sound was not great. We were bouncing at the time. We hadn't fully dialed in our sound design in that room, and you ended up going in there on night one and seeing me in the audience on the night one and saying, "Yo, D, the sound is kind of messed up in there." And you made us make a couple of additions by day two, just sound additions, different positioning of the monitors, different positioning of some of the subs, and what we were able to do to treat the room.
Yeah.
You've always taken like more care into 3 Points than just being booked there. Oh, it's something that I always appreciated, just as my homie and somebody that cared about the festival. What is it that you saw with 3 Points early on that you were like, I gotta help this guy because we're on this, always felt like we were on the same mission but different paths when it came to sound?
I don't even think it's different paths, man. We've been homies forever. You're doing something that's, catering to what my message has always been as well, which is pushing music out of the city. Right. And, there's an untold story of Miami and the music that's come out of here. And you're part of the story. 3 Point is part of the story. I believe I'm part of the story, 100%. Trying to push, trying to connect the old IDM and Miami bass and even salsa merengue and all this stuff that has come out of here. So, I mean, initially you had asked me to, I think, even be an investor. One of the first conversations we ever had.
Yeah.
Not sure why I couldn't do it, but I totally would have. I probably didn't have, the funds or anything, but it's something that I would have definitely been part of due to just the message that you're pushing. Right. I think it's extremely important, especially now that, a lot of venues have died out.
Right.
To be able to have a platform that is more experiential, that is something where you can audition people, where they can practice, where they can learn their craft and move forward. So I've always felt that, I'm part of the team, even though I'm not part of the team.
100%.
And you even trusting me in bringing in something like the Blue Planetarium show.
Yeah.
Which is, it's something for us to learn together and see what it is that people want rather than just music. We can take a little bit more of an experiential route.
And it's not always been the best gigs, like sometimes we have had a couple of years where we try something, it doesn't work out, we run it back, we try another iteration. But I think what's been really important is that you always kept it real with me. You never were telling me like, yo, it was great. And in your mind, you're like, yo, the monitor didn't work. The equipment was, the stage manager at the time wasn't getting me enough attention. The lighting guy was off to lunch and wasn't working with it. You gave me review after review after review because you cared about the integrity of the festival for people that would be coming at the caliber of like the people we love.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I believe I'm doing that because it's a representation of the city. Exactly. It's a representation of our expectations, and I want to be able to have people like Roman Flugel pull up and just say, wow, these guys have it dialed in.
Yeah,
it's super important to have that, because for a long time Miami didn't have we didn't have festivals that were like that. We had Ultra,
right?
Sure, but we didn't have anything that was on the side that was driven a little bit more on the indie side of things,
right?
And it's extremely important. I think people tend to lose, especially in the beginning of festivals, they tend to lose the fact that sound is the biggest thing.
100%.
So a lot of promoters overlook sound. They're like, yeah, we got this system. It's a function one. Okay, but is a function one dialed in?
Right.
Are you guys doing reverb testing? Are you guys doing delay compensation on the speakers in order to not have crazy feedback.
Is there bleed at the other stages?
Exactly. All that's the most important thing. If you have a good sounding system, you can put anybody in there and people will feel it, and they'll be like, they won't care who's DJing as long as the DJ is good. They're not going to be out there with their phones out the entire time. As long as you have a really good sound system, you can build a party from the ground up.
Well, we'll be back with more from Danny Daze after this track.
You're listening to the 3 Points Radio Show, hosted by David Sinopoli. Tonight in the mix, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
Welcome back to 3 Points Radio. I'm David Sinopoli, here with Danny Daze. The last 2 years, we've really nailed it. I think. Me and you have done programming from the ground up. Starting in 2017, I think I started really just calling you as I was booking and be like, what are you doing this year? What are you into? Who do you want to play with? And we tried different iterations. We had some fun moments, especially closing Mainframe, I think in 2019.
I think, did I do that with like Maceo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
Yeah. I think that one, we also had the Omnidisc Boiler Room where I was able to have an Egyptian Lover in there.
That was sick. That was 2019. You closed with Maceo in 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
You closed with Maceo and he was underneath his alias, Maria.
Either Marielito. Yeah, Marielito.
Marielito.
Yeah.
And then, but the last 2 years, I want to speed up to that. Well, hold up one second. 2017, you played the Space Terrace as well as an after party. And we dragged up Jamie XX and John Talabot.
Yeah.
And you guys played back to back to back.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, which was a big highlight for me. And then I would put our work on bringing Blue into the festival setting. And your back to back with Maher and 444 this last year as like my 3 standout moments from 3 Points. Are those yours as well?
100%, especially this last one where I was able to do something with Maher, where I was able to go earlier and dial in the digital, like Dolby Atmos spatial audio side of it, where you're on the dance floor and you're having a surround sound experience. A lot of people came up to me after and said, yo, that was one of the wildest things we've experienced, because I was able to move certain frequencies around into different speakers rather than two speakers coming out you at once. We had 16 or I forgot how many, 18 speakers. And I was able to move certain frequencies around people. And that's a pretty cool experience. That experiential side of things is new.
Right. Spatial audio is new.
Yeah,
we're still experimenting on what it works. it's recorded in spatial audio on Apple Music, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's out there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if you haven't heard it, go check it out on Apple Music on the 3 Points page. We have that set up, and you can listen to it in spatial.
Yep.
So, which is an incredible, I think, extension of what I think me personally, your best work ever, which was 2023, bringing Blue to the festival. I remember seeing it in 22 Basel. Is that correct?
Yep.
And, I mean this straight up, I've never had a close friend of mine like you are make such a insane genius piece of work and been friends with the person that I was like in love with this piece of work. Like, it's like seeing a movie that fully changes your life and then you being like best friends with the director and being like, what the fuck? What the hell? What the heck?
Yeah.
You had that in your mind? Where was that in your mind? I've known you for this long. I don't even know how that is in one's mind. Watching Blue for me was cathartic. It was highly emotional. I felt like it was tugging at pieces of my brain that I didn't know were even activated, or it became activated after that. And to know you as my friend and watching you produce that in that setting was really inspiring, man.
I appreciate it, man.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't think it can ever be replicated, that full-on experience. What is going on with Blue as it stands right now? Because I feel like it's this thing that if you've seen it and you've been a part of it, you know how special it is. And I feel like there's a lot of people that still have not seen it.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't seen it. The toughest part here for a traveling planetarium show is the planetariums, right? It's something that I built for some reason, where I felt that I needed to show what I had in my head only in a planetarium setting, so it can fully cover your peripheral vision and you feel that you're in a setting.
This is pre-Sphere, guys.
Yeah,
just so you understand, Sphere came after Blue.
Yeah.
So just so we know, he didn't have this idea before Sphere. It was Sphere was coming. Renderings were coming out as Danny was first showing 22 Blue.
Yeah, I didn't even know the Sphere was a thing, right? So I had the connection to Frost, so
Right.
I was able to do that. And where we're at now, I'll be bringing it over to Europe.
Okay.
And showing it over there. The good part about something like Blue is the fact that it doesn't have an expiration date. So it still has legs. Now I have
timeless.
an entire remix package coming out for the album. So with that, it creates another form of boost.
And when does that drop?
That'll be November.
Sick.
Yeah, and it has one of the gnarliest mixes of people, from Tim Reaper to Crespi Drum Syndicate to Machine Drum to it's a wild
Can you tell everyone who Crespi Drum Syndicate is if you don't know?
That's Goys and Johnny from Space.
Also Miami OGs.
Miami, yeah, they're producing really, really cool stuff out here. Very organic based, where they're sampling cups, tables, they're sampling chickens outside their house, and producing music like that. So again, the remix package is going to be something that allows me now to bring the actual planetarium show over to Europe and maybe work with the Deck Mantle guys or in Paris and London.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's just stay on Blue for a little bit, if that's cool with you. Is it something that you feel like you'll show again in Miami? Or is it something that when you do it again, you want to do it in a city that hasn't seen it before?
I've already talked to Frost about showing it again, for a very specific reason. There's some people that I'm working on music for that they may potentially put it in their, let's say, movie or game or visual thing that they're doing.
Word.
And I want to show them, so I'll do a special screening specifically for them and be able to do it again in Miami.
Word.
And it's fun because it's always different because the music is live.
Right.
So, so I'll more than likely do it out here, but it'll be for a very specific reason.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know that 420 this year is gonna fall on a Monday. So we've been toying with how do we do the party for 3 joints on a Monday? Like not that many are gonna be able to pull up. So we might do 3 joints still on a Saturday on the April 18th. We haven't really decided, But it would be cool if on the Monday we had a couple showings of Blue for 3 joints. That could be something that people would really be into on a Monday on 420.
I think so.
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
I know you're probably gonna have to show that for the people that you were talking about prior. That's probably gonna have to happen before the end of the year, I would assume.
I mean, it depends. Depends on them and when they release the thing that they're going to be releasing.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, let's sidebar about that. And this is kind of gives you guys a tap into how me and Danny go about things. Like, I hear what he's doing, I think about what we're doing, and we've always been found ways to intersect with each other. The last parts I want to get to is in this. You're gonna do a mix, D, for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a mindset on what you're doing yet, or no?
A little bit more, not mainstream, but a little bit more digestible.
Okay. So let's just talk about that for a little bit. So what we're going to be listening to, Danny, is pretty much how did you approach this? I know that we just called you up and said, hey, we're doing this thing for 93.5 and would you like to be involved? And it's 3 points, and you basically, without understanding all of it, were like, yeah, I'm down and I'm game.
Yeah.
And then when we gave you the information, Sister System from our team, I think, reached out and went over what we're doing here. Where was your mindset on this mix that we're about to hear?
So my main thing was, if you're driving, I want you to drive faster.
Oh,
don't get into a car accident. No, man, I just kind of wanted to represent, to be honest, just something a little bit more digestible, right?
Okay.
Like we're on terrestrial radio here. I don't need to go.
Sure.
So I just want to do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more digestible, something that I can play at on the Space Terrace.
So for 93.5, but not for coast to coast radio.
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's and drive fast.
Drive fast, but within the speed limit, guys. We don't need you out there getting scooped up by the police.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So 93 point drive.
93 point drive.
That's what the mix is called?
93 point drive fast. Yeah.
And then for this year, for 3 points, and we're going to have you on the sequence stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you're coming back on a lineup that has Nina, has Talabat, that has IMVT, and Ronnie Size.
Yeah, wild.
Which is sick, right?
Wild.
I feel like that stage was, sound-wise, was kind of designed for you.
Yeah, I mean,
the profile, IMVT, I think, is on there as well.
Yeah, I think they play, two spots before me.
And then we have Ronnie right around.
Quest, I think, is playing as well.
Quest as well. And then you're on a back-to-back twice in a weekend.
Yeah.
So you have 3 gigs for 3 points.
Mm-hmm. The playing with Soulwax or AKA Too Many DJs.
On the Thursday night with Marie Davison at Floyd.
Yeah.
And then you're playing the festival on the Saturday night with the lineup I just said, where Nina Kravitz will be closing, and Talabat and Quest, IMVT, and Ronnie Size will be also playing. And then on the Sunday, you're part of our closing party.
Playing with Quest, yeah.
For 2.5 hours before Talaboman.
Yes.
After Johnny from Space and Liv Wu-Tang.
Yep. And so it's a cool mix of different sounds, because, Too Many DJs and Soulwax, they're honestly one of the reasons I started playing the way that I do. They had a mix series called Hang the DJ.
Yep.
Which is the reason I started playing the way that I do, quite versatile and just playing whatever you want, whenever you want. They're one of the reasons. So this is one of the biggest or most influential sets of DJs that I've ever gone back to back with. So I can't wait for this recording to come out.
Sick, man. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that we put that together by you texting me and be like, yo, D, I talked to Too Many DJs, to Dave, and you're like, there's an idea of maybe potentially opening up the Spacio to more people than what is just Dave, Steph, and James. And he said, well, why don't we play something around Miami instead?
Right. Yep.
And we put the lineup together with you and with the guys. And it's a Thursday night before the festival. And then with Quest on the terrace, you're going to play as D33, which is more of a minimal.
Yeah. I mean, it's not minimal. It's just me having a little bit more fun and being a little bit more loose. The way it's me playing house music, tech house, and break beats, and just being a little bit softer with the music, not so technical.
Got it.
Being able to turn around and hug my friends.
So playing a track for like 5-6 minutes?
Yeah, or playing with rotaries and not really worried about the the technicality too much. A little bit more body music.
Cool.
There's no, I mean, sure, I'll play minimal, but it's just a completely different way of taking on the approach as a DJ rather than being so technical and rowdy. It's
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually pronounced D. It's most people say D. Yeah, it's D-E-E.
Okay,
two reverse.
Yeah.
But I say D33 as well.
Yeah, people think 3 points is 3 points. It's actually ill points.
Ill points, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So something now you know.
Or E points.
E points.
Yeah.
That's cool. So D33 or D back-to-back quest. I think you're playing from 2 to 5:30, and then or 2:30 to 5:30 or something like that. Right before Taliboman, which is Taliban and Axel Bowman.
Yeah, sick.
And then Peggy after that. So we're looking forward to that. Danny, really appreciate you taking the time to make a mix, to being on the first edition of 3 Points Radio on 93 Point Drive. Drive safe, drive slow, homie. But when Danny's mix plays, Danny says to go a little faster.
Yeah, dude. 2 miles per hour faster. Cheers, bro. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, D. Much love.
Peace.
Now we're going to give Danny control of 3 Points Radio and let him take us on a ride for the next 60 minutes.
This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Tonight's guest, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the home of the original. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. This chick is a sick individual. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the home of the original. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. This chick is a sick individual. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the home of the original. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. This chick is a sick individual. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the home of the original. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. This chick is a sick individual. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. My style can't be duplicated or recycled. My style can't be 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 recycled.
Hey everyone, this is Danny Daze, and you're listening to Revolution 93.5, the dance station.
Let me switch up the game. I drink that cognac, step back cause I might put it on ya. I go deep, so deep till you sleep, count sheep, wake it up from no. You don't want me here to show ya how I freak if when I ain't sober. What up, I'm toe up, show enough, I ain't scared to take it all, tell her free to take it all. Tipsy in the feel good, black dudes got big woods. Into it, I do it, I done it, if you really, really want it, then I should. Hey boy, you know I'm your type. 5'2" with my jeans real tight. My curves, they swerve so superb. My word is my word, and I came to serve. We run this, run this, run this, run this. It don't matter where you're from, it's where you're at. And if you can't a freaking leak, you gotta bring your hats. East Coast, West Coast, down south, represent your coast. Yeah, we run it, y'all don't want it, cause my coast. head, break my back. For the right money, might see your lap. Back to back, you can't even keep track. It's a fact, the freaks like to get slapped. Suck my toes and need a back rub. I don't come to do it, I just wanna be touched. Look at how y'all making me blush. I'm enough to go around, so we don't push. Wanna run that tush in the bush. Don't for diamonds, look real good. And they shine so hard that it glitters. So many carrots, they look like critters. And we can do it all night. Take a flashlight to see up in my windpipe. I like to keep thinking the hype. I wanna know, can you hear me, my mic? We run it, run it, run it, run it, run it. It don't matter where you're from, it's where you're at. And if you can't freaking leak, better bring your hats. East Coast, West Coast, down south, represent your coast. Yeah, we run it, yeah, we run it. Y'all don't want it, cause my coast run it. Oh, we run it. This chick is a sick individual. Hustlers in the party, y'all. If you's a pimp, let me see you party hard. Oh, strippers, take your clothes off. Y'all superstars, y'all don't need no bodyguards. I bogart, a lot of rappers faking way too hard. Pull up at the club in the rental car. Where the freaks at the bar, where the hard drinks are. Don't start, you don't want beef, don't take it that far. With a superstar, I got my foot on the clutch, so you bounce my butt. It's the nigga too much and I don't give a fuck.
The sound, the culture, the movement. This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Tonight on Dex, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
This is Danny Daze, and you're listening to 3 Points Radio with David Sinopoli on Revolution 93.5.
The end of the earth is upon us. Pretty soon it'll all turn to dust. I'll see you in the next life. The end of the earth is upon us. Pretty soon it'll all turn to dust. I'll see you in the next life. The end of the earth is upon us. Pretty soon it'll all turn to dust. I'll see you in the next life.
listening to the 3 Points Radio Show, hosted by David Sinopoli. Tonight in the mix, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935. This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Tonight's guest, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
This is Danny Daze, and you're listening to 3 Points Radio with David Sinopoli on Revolution 935.
The sound, the culture, the movement. This is the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. David Sinopoli. Tonight on Dex, Danny Daze. This is Revolution 935.
thank you for being on. Thank you for being a pillar of our community and of Miami. And for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to 3 Points Radio on 93.5. We'll see you soon.
That was the 3 Points Radio Show with David Sinopoli. Thanks for tuning in. The movement continues next week. Same time, same frequency. And remember, 3 Points Festival takes over Miami on Friday, October 17th and Saturday, October 18th, 2025. Until then, keep the culture alive.
The 3 Points Radio Show is powered by 1-800-411-PAIN. After 911, call 411.